little ironic, I guess, not more funny.
They were saying something about Quebec was really opposed to it, right?
Yeah, but anyways, so we got Steve McKinnon on CTV yesterday talking about this stuff. So this happened last night, dinner time, shortly after we finished streaming.
For joining us. I know you've just come from that economic summit hosted by the Prime Minister here in Toronto. As it was underway, you're probably aware at this point that President Trump spoke at the White House, saying he'll announce reciprocal tariffs on a lot of countries next week. It is a big escalation of his trade war. That's something different from the so-called fentanyl tariffs that Canada got a reprieve from earlier this week. Do you get any sense whether Canada will be exempted from next week's announcement by President Trump?
Well, look, Todd, let me level with you. Every day we wake up and something seems to change. Obviously, this week we informed Canadians that we had negotiated a 30-day pause. We know that there's some sort of April 1st review of our existing trade arrangements that's also going to happen. So those two dates are the dates that we have marked on the calendar. But this seems to be a moving target, Todd. And one thing that you can be sure of, though, that should something happen, and we're obviously plan A is to ensure that nothing happens, both in the interests of Canada and in the interests of the U.S., we believe. But should Plan B occur, Canada's ready. As we've reassured Canadians many times, I, as Minister of Employment, am ready to support Canada and Canadian workers, and we'll be ready as a government to react if those things should happen. It's hard to follow. It's very confusing, and if people want to follow this hour by hour, Todd, I know that it can generate an awful lot of anxiety. But just understand, I think it's important that your viewers understand one thing. This government is activated on every front. We are Team Canada, premiers, diplomats, union leaders, business people. I get calls from all over this continent, Todd, of people engaged in this issue, and we're going to keep right on rolling and protect Canadians and Canada the best we can.
You are the Minister of Employment, Labour. If a 25% tariff were to be applied to all Canadian exports, would that...
Who's this guy? Where's Vashti and where's Mike Cloutier or whatever his name is? Like, who the hell is this guy? This guy's just glazing him right now. Just not even giving me hard questions so far. Like, rein it in, buddy.
Necessitate a big benefit, a stimulus for Canadians affected, like we saw during COVID-19 with the CERB program.
Well, look, it would be a very different kind of economic impact. It would obviously not be a positive impact on Canadian businesses, Canadian workers. And so we're ready with a tailor-made package, first to protect long tenured workers and trade exposed businesses, manufacturing businesses. I know we've all heard the sectors that we think are that may be particularly vulnerable, where those ties are long standing and very important between us and the United States.
Yeah,
the most integrated.
Yeah, I don't think she cares what you say, Genghis. I don't even think she cares what we say personally. But I was just about to give you a feather in your cap, Genghis. I was going to say, you want to call anyone at CTV a paid propagandist? This guy right here.
So we would have a series of supports ready to roll out on demand if this should occur. Again, I want to stress, our first job is to make sure it does not occur. But if it does, Canada has a strategic advantage, Todd. We have a better social safety net than the U.S. So the auto worker in Michigan or the farmer in Iowa cannot count on the kind of solidarity and supports that we have as automatic stabilizers in this country. And you can bet that we'll be there to make sure that we protect Canadians and Canadian workers.
If there was some sort of aid package, Minister McKinnon, would you bring back Parliament for that?
Well, we think we have all the tools that we require, so no. We have
basically
plan
means we want to control the country. We don't want the voted representatives controlling the country. We want to be dictators. That's what it essentially tells me. That's what I get from this. Oh, yeah. You're doing the national crisis. This is why it's bad etiquette to do this. Like, this is like
Trump is a dictator,
cutting House of Commons,
threatening the tariffs without Congress.
Sorry,
because that's the same thing. Trump trying to do tariffs without the support of Congress.
Yeah, I thought it was. I said that when he did it. I said that's why he declared the national emergency. I said that wasn't a smart move. I said that's aggressive.
Authoritative. He wants to be a dictator.
I don't think it means you want to be. Well, the thing is, it's a bit different in the States compared to us because from what I understand, he still has there's still more moving pieces. He can't just do whatever he wants. Like he can't just. I have to understand with funding.
He's trying
funding wise, he doesn't have to go through Congress for the money though. But there's still
Congress controls the purse. All of the funding is supposed to be controlled by the purse. So even this whole U.S. aid thing, they can't cut that without the support of Congress. It's dictatorial to do that. It's literally in the Constitution.
Okay.
That Congress
we're talking about
controls the
Canadian
power of the
politics.
purse.
I don't really.
I'm just saying. I was just making the comparison because you said that they were dictators for doing this. So
you just have to bring Trump into it. It's just like
I just wanted to know if you would also call him a dictator for doing
this.
This
is why people say you have TDS, dude. You're just so on top of it.
Well, I just want to see a consistent standard applied to people. I want to see if we're going to call these people dictators. Are these guys also dictators for doing the same thing?
I think most people are on that point now. Like at this point, I think it's very authoritative and aggressive. I guess in a sense, I should say this. I shouldn't be saying. I guess what I'm trying to say is Trudeau isn't being dictatorial. He's being authoritative and aggressive. That's what I should say. Okay, that's the best way to call it.
Okay.
That is ready to go, that is developed within the existing capabilities of myself as Minister of Employment and the Government of Canada. So we wouldn't wait. I don't think we need to be told that we need to be there for Canadian workers. We know that, and we will be.
All right, at today's summit, CTV News learned the Prime Minister...
Being a devil advocate all the time just gets annoying a little bit. That's my personal experience dealing with Saul at this point. It's like, it's just like... It's like who do we?
I'm not even.
Have?
I just
can we just blow off?
I'm a stickler for consistency. I think if you're gonna have a consistent standard laid across the field, I don't have any problem with what people are saying. It's just when people are being hypocritical and not applying a consistent standard across the board, that gets me super triggered, and I start going off about Trump and stuff. Then I'm like, why are we not calling a spade here?
Warned everyone in attendance that President Trump, Minister McKinnon, is not joking when he makes comments about wanting to annex Canada, somehow make Canada a 51st state within the United States. What does that mean to you?
Well, what it means to me is that we have someone who's gotten some very strange ideas that are different. So we can't assume that the same kind of mindset exists in our friends to the south. And they are our friends, I should stress. Americans are and always will be our friends. But Canada is a free country, a sovereign country. Canada will decide on its own destiny. And Todd, Canada is forever. And there is absolutely no part of this country that has any desire to be annexed or part of the United States of America. We have significant differences. We've made our own choices, and we're going to pursue the path that we choose. Now, we have our own differences internally, we know, regionally. Sometimes we have some political differences, but I don't detect a single shred of disunity on this one thing. We're proud Canadians. We're going to stay proud Canadians, and we have boundless opportunity. Out of this summit today, Todd, I just want to stress, I would be remiss if I didn't, the opportunity and optimism that came out of this group of Canadian business people, of Canadian labor leaders, Canadians from all walks of life who are making recommendations. But what they bring is this incredible sense that this country has unexploited potential, unexploited possibilities. We have some work to do on that, and we're resolved to do that work. But once we get that work done, this country has the most promising future that it is possible to imagine. We have everything we need to succeed. That includes one of the world's most educated and capable and skilled workforces, natural resources. We have everything we need.
I thought he was going to say, so low. I thought he was going to talk about Mark Carney. I'm like, okay, Stephen, rein it in, buddy. You're making it a little too easy there, buddy.
Between our hands, and we now have to make the choices for growth. We have to choose to pursue markets inside this country and outside this country in places including the United States, but not restricted to the United States. There should be nothing but optimism for the people who are watching this program, Todd. We have a great future ahead of us.
But is your government operating with an understanding that, in fact, Trump wants to somehow annex Canada? And what does that mean for the federal government's response to that, Minister McKinnon?
Why don't you squint harder, CTV reporter, like whatever your name is?
It hasn't crossed our mind. We make our decisions.
It reminds you like Adam DeMamp doing that, like, or Adam Devine, that like bit he has about guys who are like good looking. There was like, they just got sand in their eyes. They're just like, whoa, you know.
In the interest of Canadians, in the interest of pursuing growth for Canadians, in the interest of pursuing prosperity for Canadians, and making our own choices. Mr. Trump, I think, seems to have gotten some ideas. This is not new. We've seen it in his social media. We've seen it expressed in various forms. I think it's a form of leverage seeking. He seems to always want to accumulate leverage in negotiations. But let me say, Canada's got a lot of leverage too. And we'll absolutely be deploying that leverage and making our U.S. friends at all levels very aware of the adverse economic effects that would befall the United States were they to engage in a protracted trade dispute.
We've seen a lot of unity from all provinces, including the province you and I are both from, Quebec, of course. It's an interesting time for our country to see Canadians rallying around the flag. This trade war has also helped to galvanize your government provinces to push more for the diversification of Canada's economy to become, Minister McKinnon, as you know, less reliant on the United States. We send 75% of our exports there. But we have less than a month left in this current tariff pause. Your government has been in power for 2015. So my question, why should Canadians believe that it is your team that can bring significant change in just, let's say, 3.5 weeks?
Look, we have a very positive, a lot of this work's been going on, by the way, for a long time. It certainly has new impetus. It's an easier conversation now with my provincial counterparts when we talk about labor mobility. Anita Anand
that's what I've been saying,
the same
Melissa.
thing when she talks about internal trade barriers. The first market we should seek to develop is the market that is in our own country, Todd. On that, we're finding obviously broad agreement and a new impetus to act. We need to continue to diversify the destinations for Canadian exports. That's work that's been going on for a long time, obviously has achieved a new urgency. That work is going to continue. But Todd, let me just say one other thing. It's time to build up our country, to build supply chains, to expand our ports, to expand our energy infrastructure, to expand our electricity production.
Now's the time,
Todd,
right
we
before
have to build
you have government
in this country.
and...
We have such amazing potential. We have some of the largest pension funds in the world who are looking for projects in which to invest. This country has boundless potential, and I know that we're very, very eager to get on with reaching that potential.
Before we go, let me ask you about Canadian energy, most of which, as you know, again, sold to the U.S. There are some ministers in cabinet saying we need to rethink the idea of a west-east pipeline. You are a minister representing a riding in Quebec where that idea is very controversial. Are you willing to try and push through a pipeline through Quebec?
Well, it has been controversial. I think many Quebecers are surprised to wake up to the news that it is possible, at least technically or theoretically possible, that the U.S. could cut off our supply of Canadian oil because sections of the pipeline that brings it to Quebec and to Ontario go through the United States. So, Minister Wilkinson has expressed that we need to at least take another look at that. We need to be self-sufficient in our country. We have petrochemical industries and other industries that can benefit from these things. We have to at least take another second long look at that kind of infrastructure. But more generally, my earlier comment remains. We need to build up our infrastructure of all kinds. We need...
Like, the thing is why, like, Pierre already said, like, he wouldn't necessarily, he would allow the government to respond to the tariff issue before calling on confidence. Did he not? Like they would actually have, like, from what I understand,
that was what they were going to do. Yeah, before
they would be able to reconvene
delayed
and do things before they got the voted on confidence. From what I understand, they could get a few things done before they were thrown out. If Jagmeet Singh supported the idea. Why are they so afraid to end prorogation if they're not just trying to?
Because they just elect a new leader right now. That's why.
They just want to push everybody out of it. You know what I mean? But you can't elect a new leader at this point.
Trudeau,
You can't do
Trudeau
it at this
didn't
point.
want to.
It's just the dumbest time to be doing it. Like the worst time possible. Worst time possible.
Yes, because Trudeau refused to step down when it would have been actually a good idea to step down. Decided to wait till the absolute last minute when something extreme was happening, and now he wants to have a 2 to 3 month leadership race, and then an
it's
election.
absolute bullshit. Like it's just absolutely.
It is. Yeah, it's really stupid. It's just horrible leadership.
Yeah, like I hope he just ends up a stain on the record forever and never has an actual career. Like,
Yeah, he will be.
Need a career.
I think this was if he had stepped down a year ago, he could have at least somewhat salvaged his legacy. Obviously, the people who hated him would have still hated him. I mean, I wouldn't have still had a positive opinion, but I would have appreciated him stepping down before we got to this point, right? But yeah, whatever.
It's just so stupid.
It is
better
really
electric
bad,
grids. We need more power generation, clean energy coming from Canada, hydroelectricity, in some cases nuclear energy. Todd, we have to build up our ability to supply ourselves and to be resilient. And if that involves taking a look at some things that may not have had success in the past, then so be it.
The Quebec government, though, and the Bloc Québécois have basically said, Minister McKinnon, that a pipeline through Quebec is a complete non-starter.
Well, the Bloc Québécois doesn't run a darn thing, Todd. It's the government of Quebec, Mr. Legault, who's said some very encouraging things this week about strengthening our ability to work in and develop markets right across this country. That's the kind of partnership that we're looking for. I know Mr. Legault is thinking many of these things as well. We have to develop ourselves economically in Quebec, and we have to do that right across this country. The Bloc Québécois will never exercise power in this country, and will never achieve their main project, which is to separate Quebec from Canada and leave a French-speaking island in the sea of North America. That is an absurd project, just as absurd, Todd, as putting 25% tariff.
You call them a French island in the sea of North America? Jeez.
On Canadian exports.
Steve McKinnon is Canada's employment minister, joining us today from Toronto. Minister McKinnon, always great to have you with us on Power Play. Thank you for your time.
Wow, what a jerk off interview. That was the most might as well had knee pads on, buddy, interview I've ever seen on CTV with a Liberal. Actually, that was ridiculous. It
just wasn't very adversarial.
It was pathetic interview in my opinion. That was just so friendly, too friendly. So get Vashi back, get Mike back, anybody else. What the hell was that? You know what I mean? That's the only reason he agreed to go on is it was that guy.
I don't know.
Just so stupid. Anyways. Ugh.